Well, I just went, okay, I shuffled the deck. Well, it's okay, it doesn't matter, because if I can control, right? I want to tell you a little story now. The story is about a fellow by the name of Two Shuffles Harry. Harry, it's not me we're talking about. There was another guy called Two Shuffle Harry. Reason I called him that is he always shuffled the deck, not once, not three times, but twice. That's why they called him Two Shuffles Harry. Sometimes he would do a silly thing like this. He would take about half the shuffle deck like this, and he would say to one person on this side, after he shuffled once, twice, like that, and he always dropped the card to make it look sloppy and good. He said, would you take out any card? Just pull out any card. Look at it, remember it, show it to at least one other person. Then he would say, put it back into the deck. Now, Two Shuffles, Harry didn't care where or what the card was. All he cared about was shuffling the deck, not once, not three times, but twice. That's why they called him Two Shuffles Harry. Then he would turn to another person. He would say, dear, would you take out any card, please? Anyone at all. Look at it, show it to at least one other person. Put it back into the deck. Two Shuffles Harry didn't care where or what the card was. As I told you, all he cared about was shuffling the deck, not once, not three times, but twice. That's why they called him Two Shuffles Harry. Sometimes he would get very fancy. He would turn half the deck face up, just like that, and he would shuffle all the face-up cards into the face-down cards, so that we had a real mess here. But remember, he always shuffled twice, so he would take some more face-up cards and shuffle them into some more face-down cards, and he really ended up with a terrible mess. Sometimes he would even take the cards and he would cut them like that. But what Two Shuffles Harry did afterwards, he would just snap his fingers and an amazing thing happened. What happened is all the cards would face one way except the two selected cards. Wasn't that your card? Wasn't that your card? Was it? The six of spades and jack of diamonds? But he even went further than that. He showed that after all this shuffling, he had all the red cards here and all the black cards here. I don't understand that. See? Okay. Two Shuffles Harry is something I do after I've done something like the Great Divide, when I've already separated the colors for a trick. Because what I can do then is pretend that's all over and I shuffle the deck, as I've already taught you. I make sure that my audience sees me shuffling the deck. And I'll say something about it. I say, I've shuffled the deck, but there's a trick that just came to mind. This is the story about Two Shuffles Harry, and I'm into it. Now, you saw the performance in the performance section. Now I want to teach it. The pattern is that his name is Two Shuffles Harry because he always shuffles the deck, not once. And here I'm doing a Zaro shuffle. Not once, but twice. Now, I'm assuming that you know the Zaro shuffle, but let me kind of break it down for you, and then it'll be made much clearer for you later on. What I'm doing is stripping out some cards from the center, which leaves an automatic break at my left thumb there. That's automatic. Now, when I shuffle, I just kiss the corners, and I push the upper part of the cards above the break, over to kind of hide that kissed area. And then as I straighten out that V shape, the kiss comes apart. I do not let the cards interlace. I pull them apart. I pull the interlaced cards apart, and this right-hand part of the deck goes under the top block. In other words, nothing has changed. So very quickly, I strip out from the center. I start the shuffle kissing those corners. I'm exaggerating here. I push this forward, this being the upper broken part, and as I straighten out this V, I let these uninterlace, if that's the word, and that goes under that block. I'm exposing it for you. So I do that twice. The pattern is, they called him Two Shuffles Harry because he never shuffled the deck once. He never shuffled it three times. He always shuffled twice. That kind of sets the pattern. Then I say he sometimes did a silly thing where he separated the deck into halves, and at this point, I actually look to the juncture of the reds and blacks. Remember, my deck is set in reds and blacks. So I put all the reds here and all the blacks here without letting the audience see it, of course. But I make it look as a casual, as if I want to break two portions of cards. I turn to a spectator on my left, and I say, would you take out any card? Now, show that to a few people, and my patter here is, would you replace the card? I kick cut the top portion. This is a standard control. I have him replace the card here. I catch a break, and I double cut to the table like that. Now you can do a regular double cut. It's just this is the way I've always done this. So my patter is, when they put the selected card, the 9 of clubs in this case, in here, I hold a break, and I say, two shuffles, Harry never wanted to know where the card was. All he cared about was shuffling the deck, not once, not 3 times, but twice. That's why they called him Two Shuffles Harry. Now, all I've done there is do real, legitimate shuffles, but I make sure the top card stays on top. That's all, the selected card. But I do 2 shuffles because it's part of the story. Then he turned to the next person, had that person take a card, and I say, would you please take one out, show it to somebody else. Here's the 5 of hearts. I do exactly the same thing. Do a kick cut, have the card replaced, catch a break. 2 shuffles, Harry never cared. I cut to the break, so that that card is now on top. Never cared where the card was. All he cared about was shuffling the deck not once, not 3 times, but twice. That's why they called him Two Shuffles Harry. So you could fill in your patter any way you like, but I keep doing only 2 shuffles. Without pausing now, sometimes he got very fancy and he would turn some, whoops, don't spread them, he would turn some of the cards face up and shuffle the face up cards into face down cards. Now let me stop here and show you what I'm doing. All I'm doing, and I think this is a Marlowe idea, but I'm honestly not sure, I want to shuffle all these face up red cards under the top card. That's all I want to do. Instead of doing a Zarro or a Shank or anything fancy, I found out that it doesn't matter at this point. I simply shade as much of the cards as I can, and I lift 1 card with this hand. That's all I'm doing. I'm lifting 1 card, and I shuffle these right in here in square. That's it. And if you didn't catch that, let me make sure you've got it just once more. I say sometimes he gets fancy. Now I'll break it down slowly. And he shuffled all these face-up cards into the face-down cards. I've shuffled them under the top card. Okay? Now, I usually say that left a real mess here. Some face up, some face down. I cut near the top to show face up. I cut near the bottom to show face down. But I continue the pattern and I say, but remember, Two Shuffles Harry always had to shuffle twice. Now, at this point, you turn the entire deck over, cut at the natural break. There should be a natural break here, back-to-back break, which are all the black cards. Move them over and do exactly the same shuffle. And again, he shuffled face-up cards into face-down cards. I'm doing exactly the same thing. I'm shuffling all these face-up right-hand cards under the top left-hand card. That's all. But you make it look like a real shuffle. And again, I say that really left a mess. Some face up, face down. Some face down. Now, we're coming to the end. I say, and sometimes he would do this. Now, I cut it the natural break. Sometimes he would cut the cards. This half, when I cut, must be flipped over. So when I cut, I say, and sometimes he would cut the cards like this, and I really cut. So to make sure you've got this in your mind, you're in this position at that point, you cut it the natural break, the pattern now, and sometimes Two Shuffles Harry would simply cut the deck like that. I have to do that to center the 2 selected cards. Then I say, would you tell me your card? This person says whatever. This person says whatever. And I say, if all these cards have been mixed face up and face down, Two Shuffles Harry would simply snap his fingers, and all the cards now face one way, except the 9 of clubs and 5 of hearts. At this point, you better wait for the applause, wait for the gasps, because the kicker is yet to come, and you want to get attention back to the cards. Make sure they don't think you could switch anything. Get attention back to the cards. And say, and another thing Two Shuffles Harry did, which I never understood, is he made sure that all the black cards were here and all the red cards were there. And that's the story of Two Shuffles Harry.
One of the most difficult things in business is to find good people to work with you, people who can make good decisions for you. And I'd like to conduct kind of a job interview, but don't worry, this is not going to be one of those Donald Trump apprentice kind of things. Pretty simple. Sir, could I ask you to help me?
Sure.
Come on up. Give him a hand. Front row, Frank. Front row, Frank. I heard the stories.
Yeah.
You watch yourself.
That's not true.
Okay. Now, this is a rather unorthodox job interview. Do you play poker?
Yes.
Okay, at least you know the rudiments of it.
Right.
Okay, we're not going to be playing like world tournament poker or anything. In fact, it's not even important that you know how to play poker. It's that you know how to make good decisions. But because this is a job interview and I'm looking to hire you, you want to make good decisions for me. And so this is a test of your intuition, your ability to make good decisions for me. Now we have 10 cards, which is the minimum necessary for a 2 hands of 5 card stud. Okay? But I'm going to let you make all the decisions. And I'm using big cards so you know I can't do any sleight of hand. Okay? First, we need to have you select a whole card for yourself.
Okay.
Please, slide one to yourself. Okay, and that'll make that one for me. Now I'm going to deal 2 cards. Choose one for yourself. Excellent. I'm going to deal 2 more cards. Choose one for me. Great. Now we're going to go on until we have each have 5 cards in our hand. 1 for you and 1 for me. Okay. So that means we've got 2 cards left for each of us. 4 cards left. Okay. 1 for you and 1 for me. Now, Frank, for the first time, I'd like you to take a look at your hand. Pick them up. Don't let anybody else see them. But take a look at your hand, and I'm going to show you the last 2 cards. And I would like you to honestly choose that card that will make the better hand for you. I don't like that smile. All right. Let's have a look. Let's see what you got there, Frank. That's a full boat. Aces over 9s. Full boat. Frank, I thought you understood the point of this.
I want your job.
Oh. Well, Frank, let's see how you did here. Okay, that's a pretty good start. Ooh. See company car? Ooh, I see a 3 weeks vacation. 6-figure salary. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet my new Vice President of Corporate Strategy. You start Monday, Frank. Thanks. This is good decisions. There's a lot of history to this trick. It started out with my friend Paul Green showing me an effect that I really loved. And I asked him about it, and he agreed to teach it to me, but it was something that wasn't published, and it was based on some things that a bunch of people had a hand in, including Bob Kohler and Seth Kramer. And when I tried to track down the origins of it, in one respect it led to a Harry Lorraine trick, but Seth Kramer totally reworked it. And a number of other people had their hands in it. And then I found out that David Solomon and John Bannon had versions of it, and in fact one of them appeared in Magic Magazine. And the most recent version appeared in John Bannon's book, Dear Mr. Fantasy. This version, which is actually the 3rd version that I've worked on, came first from seeing R. Paul Wilson do his refried poker at the 2006 FISM conference. And Paul gave me the manuscript for that, and I thought it was very good. But then I met a young man named Andrew Murray from England. Andrew was Magic Circle Close-Up Magician of the Year a couple of years ago. And I thought his routine was the best I'd seen, and asked him for permission to include it here, in which he has given me the full permission to teach it to you. It does appear in his lecture notes called Jokers Not Included, and it's available from Andrew at his website, www.andrewmurray.biz, B-I-Z. So he's got a lot of great stuff there. But this particular routine, I decided to expand into utilizing some larger than normal cards. These are the Anglo cards that come from Sweden. This particular deck was the souvenir deck from the 2006 FISM convention. And the thing that I like about them over normal jumbo cards, or the cards that you find at the dollar store, is the fact that they are jumbo index version, and so they read at a great distance. There are 10 cards, they're completely ungaffed, and I keep them in this little leather folder that is actually something I found in a mail order catalog, and is meant to hold 4x6 photos. They come in red, they come in black, and they even put your monogram on them at the princely sum of $7.98 or so. So they're great. And I explained that I use 10 cards, and the 10 cards that I use, and the order from the top is Ace of Spades, 9 of Spades, ace of hearts, nine of clubs. That could be any ace and nine. Any two cards of the spade flush, in this case the jack and the king. Another ace and nine, and that can be in any order, in any suit. And the final two cards, the queen and the 10 of the royal flush. Now, the royal flush cards can appear in any order. The aces and nines can appear in any order. It really doesn't matter. The only thing that's important is that the ace and nine of spades start out at the top because those are going to be your hole cards. The nice thing about this is you do nothing. There's only one move in the entire routine, and it's even a non-move because it's just a displacement of two cards. And you do it visibly. You don't call attention to it, but you do it visibly. So you start by dropping the top two cards on the table, and you ask the spectator to choose one for himself. Now, it's really better if you are able to get the ace as your hole card. It works out better that way. And so generally I will have the ace in the second position, so I drop the 9 closer to him, and I'd say probably 80%. If the person's on this side, they take the 9. But it really doesn't matter. It works both ways. So imagine you get the ace as your card. Now you deal 2 cards. Whichever card he chooses will be for his hand. Now it doesn't matter whether he gets the ace or 9, because in any case, his hand is always going to be a full house, either aces over 9s or 9s over aces. So either one he takes doesn't matter. You drop the rest of the pack on top, and you follow that procedure every time. Deal out 2 cards. He chooses any card for your hand. You drop the remaining cards on top. Again, 2 cards, 1 for his hand, rest of the cards on top. 2 cards, 1 for your hand, rest of the cards on top. And here's where you have to do the displacement. When you have 4 cards left, you have to change the positions of card number 2 and card number 3. And to do that, you put your thumb, your left thumb, on card number 2. You put your left fingers on card number 3. And all you have to do is separate your hands, and the second and third cards change positions as you gesture, saying, oh, that's 2 for you and 2 for me. And you put the right cards back on top, and now you're set to complete the routine with no moves whatsoever. He chooses 1 for his hand, drop your cards on top, deal 2, he chooses 1 for your hands. Now you're in an interesting position, because for the first time he's going to look at his cards, and you say, honestly, choose the card that will give you the best hand. Well, it's very obvious that if he has these cards, the best card for him will be the ace, which will leave you the jack. And when you turn it over, you get a great moment, because they see that he's got a full boat. In this case, 9s over aces. And you pause, I thought you understood the idea there. That's a pretty good hand. Well, let's see how I did. Now, you can do this in one of 2 ways. I prefer not looking at the cards because I want to maintain the surprise along with the audience. But you could look at the cards and turn them over so that they are in actual flush order, royal flush order. But I prefer, like I said, to maintain the surprise. Jack of spades, okay, good start. Oh, possible straight. And I go through, well, the possible straight, that could mean 3 weeks vacation. Oh, I'm seeing a company car, 6-figure salary. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet my new Vice President of Corporate Strategy. And that's my routine called Good Decisions.
Thank you. You know, for years, gamblers and magicians have always had an argument. Gamblers say that they're better than magicians are when it comes to sleight of hand with cards, and vice versa. And if you think about it, they're really 2 different things, 2 different arts. For example, if a gambler was to be caught cheating in a game of cards, he could lose his life. If a magician got caught doing a card trick, it really doesn't matter. So for years, they've had this argument, who was better. And about 6 months ago, this famous gambler, who I'm not going to mention his name because he is a real gambler, got together with a great magician. I can't mention his name either. But anyway, the 2 of us are sitting there, and the magician said, I think we're better with a deck of cards. Gambler said, okay, I'll make you a deal. He says, I'll shuffle the cards, and I'll bet after I shuffle, you can't cut to 4 of a kind. I don't care if you cut the kings, queens, doesn't matter. If you cut to 4 of a kind, you win the bet. And the magician, this guy Bill, he says, I'll not only do that, but it'll only take me 2 cuts to do it. I'll cut the 2 at a time. Gambler says, I'd like to see that. So they both threw their money into the pot, and this is what it looked like that day. A couple months ago. The gambler took the cards and gave them a little shuffle like this, and then when he was finished, he took the cards and he handed them to the magician. The magician picked up the deck, looked them over, gave them 1 cut, and when he turned over his first 2 cards, he had the 2 red aces. That was a pretty good start. So that meant that with his next cut, he'd have to get the black aces. So the magician cut the cards again, and if I did that right, and I think I did, I now have the 2 black. Oh, well, I tell you what, I got 1. The gambler reached for the money and said, you missed. And I said, no, I'm a magician. See, I cut to the 4 kings instead of the 4 aces. Thank you. But it gets better than that, because the gambler said, well, really, you didn't win, because I said you had to cut 4 of a kind, and you only made 2 cuts. You're supposed to make 4 cuts, so really I won. The magician said, no, wait a minute, I still have 2 cuts to go. So I went like this, and I found the aces, and I guess the magicians are better than the gamblers. Thank you. This is the routine called Gambler Outdone, which appeared in Marlowe Magazine, Volume 2. This is a real quick version of Gambler versus Magician, and the setup from the top down are 4 kings in any order, doesn't make any difference, followed by 2 black aces and 2 red aces. That's your setup, okay? So you start off by doing your preliminary patter about a gambler and a magician, and as you're talking, you go through these 2 sequences of shuffles. You shuffle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards, and then put the deck back where it was. You do another sequence, shuffling 1, 2, 3, 4 cards, and put the deck back where it was. You can check your position. You should have now 2 kings, followed by 2 aces, followed by 2 kings, followed by aces. If you want to, you could just start there and have that be your setup, okay? I just like doing those shuffles as I'm talking. Now the trick starts. You talk about the gambler took the cards and gave the cards a shuffle. To do the gambler's part of the routine, you undercut half the pack, in-jog a card, and then shuffle off till the deck is exhausted. Now pick up a break at the in-jog card and shuffle the cards off up to the break again until the cards are exhausted. So now you're right back where you were, same setup, nothing changed. You say the gambler handed the cards to the magicians, the magician picked them up, and you're going to do this false cut, which was Marlowe's favorite false cut. I used to think it belonged to him, and I found out later it was actually Frank Thompson's, but he liked it so much he did it all the time. And the way it works is I swing cut a third of the deck into my hand. I then swing cut another third, but I hold a break between the packets. I now drop the remaining third to the table. I cut the cards at the break, place those on top, and the last packet goes on top of all. So at speed it looks like this. Okay, so now the magician took the cards, he gives them a cut, you do the Frank Thompson cut, you say, and when he looked, he had 2 aces. And actually, you're not looking to see if you have 2 aces, you're actually getting a break on the top 4 cards. You now do the D'Amico spread, showing that you just cut to 2 black aces. You keep a break under these 3 cards as you turn them over. So now you can put the single card on top of the triple, turn everything over, and deal it off to the side. The spectators think those are the black aces. You say now the magician needed in his next cut to be able to cut to the 2 red aces. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a break under the 2 top cards and double undercut those 2 cards at the bottom by first undercutting half the packet and then cutting the cards at the break. What that did was it transferred the 2 black aces down to the bottom, which now enables you to show the next 2 cards. So you say the magician found the first 2 black aces. Now let's see if he got the red ones. You say, I think he got it. And as you say that, you riffle up, getting a break on 3 cards. Your thumb slides the top one from the top down to the bottom, and then you did a D'Amico spread, and you look up like you're not noticing and say, and now we had the two. Now you realize that only one red one is there, and you missed one. So as you flip over the red one, which is a double, you have a break, you turn the double down, you deal it, and you say, the gambler said, wait a minute, you missed. And he reached for the money. The magician said, no, I never said which four of a kind. See, I cut to the four kings. And the gambler said, well, you still lost because I said you had to cut 4 times and you only cut twice. He says, well, I got 2 cuts to go then. He went like this and produced the 4 aces. The very last phase is there's 2 aces on the bottom, 2 aces on the top. You hold the deck firmly, fingers at the bottom, thumb at the top. Throw the deck out, the top and bottom card will stay in your hand. Then throw the deck out again, the other 2 will stay in your hand. Turn these over for the big, big finish. And that's called Gamblers Outdone from Marlowe's Magazine number 2.
Thank you. You know, inside the world of magic, there's actually a legendary story about a showdown between a famous magician and the gambler. The gambler was the mysterious kid. Now, the magician, in classic magic humbleness, had been calling himself the king of cards. And, you know, gamblers, being the gamblers that they are, see, they just don't show off. You never see a gambler take a deck of cards and do something like this, because you're not going to say, well, hey, let's play cards, you know. So the way that they go about these things, it's a lot more subtle. And one of the things that they do to test their ability, not in a flashy way, but in a practical way, is to try and cut to 4 of a kind out of a shuffled deck. And that was the challenge that he proposed to the magician. It didn't matter which cards that he was working with, so the magician gave the cards a cut just like this and decided that the bet was on. Now, the first card that he cut to was a king, and from that point on, he had to cut to all 4. But now the gambler had said, you got to take them out of the deck so that you can't cut to the same card. That was fair, so he gives the cards a few cuts like this, and the bet was on, continuing now with the second king. See, but now every time you cut to a king, there's less kings to cut to. There were 4 kings. Each time you remove a king, there's less and less cards to cut to. 3 kings. Now there's only 1 king left inside of those 49 playing cards. The odds have changed considerably, and yet he was confident as he... Whoops. Okay, well, it's at this point that the gambler reached for the money, but the magician said, no, wait a second. We just said that I had to cut to any 4 of a kind. Now, wouldn't it be good if I could cast a shadow over that ace and change that ace into the 4th king? Would that be fair? After all, I am a magician. The gambler thought about it in a second and says, well, you know, I guess that would be fair. The magician said, yeah, it sure would be. Wish I could do it. But wouldn't it be even better if I could touch those kings over here and turn those kings into all 4 aces? But the gambler was a gambler to his core. He reached over quick as a wink, and he grabs the deck, and he gives it a quick shuffle and says, double or nothing. Now let's see you cut to the kings. Well, it's at this point that I said to the gambler, the magician said to the gambler, hey, I got places to go, things to do, but I'll do it real quick for you just to be a good sport there. It's already done. The gambler said, well, what do you mean it's already done? The magician says, well, as you can see, there are no more kings in the deck. Each and every king is gone. They're no longer around. You challenged me to get them, and I did, in fact, get them. All 4 kings are now gone. Where did they go? He showed his hands empty, and he reached inside a pocket, and he pulled out the 1st king. He showed his hands empty. He reached in, and he pulled out a 2nd king. He reached in, he pulled out a 3rd king. He reached in, he pulled out the 4th and the final king, and that's the legend of the gambler versus the magician. Jacob Daly, in his Gambler versus Magician routine, has constructed an effect in which you're so far ahead from the very beginning that it's really a wonderful place to be when you're performing card magic. You take out the 4 aces and the 4 kings. If that's the ones that you choose to cut to, you might want to consider having something like the 3s and the jacks or something like that to make it less obvious that there's going to be this kings and ace kind of thing going on, so that they truly seem to be very random cards. But it's really kind of a minor point as to which cards you end up cutting to. But let's say you take the kings and the aces. What you'll need to do is take a red and a black king, because it doesn't matter which suits those are, because those aren't going to be seen. But it's important that they be 1 red and 1 black. And you have the ability to put these 2 cards anywhere you want, because those aren't going to be shown during the cutting procedures. You can be ahead on these. Harry Lorraine, of course, has got a wonderful presentation of this. And in his particular handling, he takes one of those kings and places it inside of a wallet, and for that kind of card-to-wallet kicker. If you want to keep it quite simple, all you have to do is put one inside any right side pocket, and the other inside any right side pocket. I use the coat pocket and the inner breast pocket here. And then you're going to alternate ace, king, ace, king, ace. And those are going to go on top of the deck in that alternating ace, king order. And then the 4th ace is on the bottom of the deck, and it can be any one of those aces. The suits aren't important at this point. Now you'll take the cards out of the card box, give them a false cut, false shuffle, that sort of thing, any one of your favorites, to kind of establish that the deck has been mixed. Now this is kind of an interesting little tip here that I'm going to show you to allow you to keep that deck on the table while maintaining a position in the center. Here's what I mean by that. If I cut those cards and I go to complete the cut, this left little finger is going to hit that bottom card, moving it out to one side. Now, as I push that out to one side and then square it back up, that jogs that card out the back. It's an idea that I got in an early Marlowe manuscript. With this card jogged out the back in this way, I can now bevel the deck back like this, and that's going to cover that jogged area, that jogged card, so that I can hold it by the edges and give the cards a riffle like this if I want, and set the cards down onto the table. Now, anytime I want, I can pick up at that break by just picking up at that jogged card. This way I can introduce what the concept is, discuss this whole plot line of the gambler and the magician that had this showdown confrontation taking place. And they established the fact that any cards that would be cut to, 4 of a kind had to be cut to, and the bet began. At that point, you can go down to the table deck and just pick up right at that point. I'll kind of get rid of that bevel so that you can see that jogged card there. And at this point, if you want, you can reach down and just pick straight up right at that ace. Now, if you don't want to hold a break, if you don't want to table the deck in that way, all you really need to do is hold a break at that point. Okay, if I didn't want to do it from the table, I could just have that deck here and then say, okay, I'll cut, and then you just cut right to the break and you table it that way. And at this point, all you have to do is a double lift. So I do a little double lift, get ready there, and then I show the first king. That establishes we're going to cut to all 4 kings. Now you bring the card box out and you set it down, because now as you turn that double over, set that double, now you'll place a king, what seems to be a king, but it's actually an ace, underneath the edge of the card box. Now I have to cut this king down to the bottom. I have to get rid of that 1 king. So I cut 1 to the bottom. That king, through a double cutting procedure, I lift the bottom packet up to here, I retain the break, and then I complete the double cut. And as I complete the double cut, I also do that get ready so that I'm able to do a double lift here. So it looks like the second king. So that's 2 kings. Turn that double down, place it underneath the edge of the card box. Now I'm going to be cutting 2 cards to the top. Okay? So I get a break above 2 cards from the bottom. These 2 cards are going to be moved to the top. So first 1 to the bottom, now 2 to the top, holding that break, kick, cut, retain that break between the 2, and then cut it back to the top. Now do another double. That will be your 3rd king. So now you turn that double down, place the 3rd card underneath there. Here's your setup. You're going to have 2 kings on top, followed by an ace. Now you're ultimately going to get rid of these 2 kings. So you're going to cut these 2 kings down to the bottom. So the system is 1 to the bottom, 2 to the top, 2 back to the bottom. Taking these 2 cards back to the bottom, now you'll show the ace. Now as you turn this card down, you're going to get a break above these 2 kings. And at that point, the gambler says, the gambler starts to reach for the money. And what you're going to do is, holding that break above those 2 kings, you're going to reach down, pick up the card box, place the card box into the left hand, and those 2 kings are just going to go along with the card box into the left pocket, as you then spread the cards and say, no, what if I could cause that ace to change into a king? Would that be a good trick? Sure would. It's a little moment there to kind of help lock in the fact that the impossibility of changing even 1 card. And you say, it'd sure be great if I could then go back and change all of those into the 4 aces. Then you'll show the 4 aces here. Now, you're in a really amazing situation here. They've expected these to be the 4 kings. They actually expect you to change that 4th ace into a king if you just leave that door open for them. And now they see that what in fact has happened is that all of the aces have appeared in place of those kings. Now, quick as a wink, the gambler scoops up the cards, gives them a quick shuffle, says, there, double or nothing, find the kings now. The kings are already all gone. Now, at this point, you show that the kings are in fact all gone. No kings remain whatsoever. And now you're set to reproduce those 4 kings from 4 different pockets. Now you have 2 already preloaded. In fact, all 4 are preloaded, but those were done before anything began. Under the course of the routine, you've loaded 2 of those kings into your left pocket. So here's the procedure from now, creating the impression that those cards were produced from 4 different pockets. Showing your hands empty, the first hand goes in, the left hand goes in and takes out 1 of the 2 kings that you loaded in with the card box. The right hand goes in. Now, as the right goes in, the left goes back into that same pocket. So as the right hand is occupying attention, bringing this card out, you just kind of repalm that card that was in the left pocket. But it's a very easy repalming. And then you just take that out and then reproduce it from the pants pocket as if that's where the card came from. You want to kind of overlap that as opposed to doing something like this, because I've seen this take place. The first king comes out, the second king comes out, and now all of a sudden the person starts to look confused and reaching in all these different pockets and creating some sort of a cluttered moment there. It's much better, I think, as the second king is being legitimately reproduced with the right hand, that the left hand goes back and under that same moment goes ahead and repalms with all the time in the world and then casually brings it out of the pants pocket. And now that 4th and final king again is just as clean as the others as you reach in and pull out the 4th king to conclude Dr. Jacob Daly's classic Gambler versus Magician. The Gambler versus Magician is clearly a storyline presentation. So pay attention to the people as opposed to the cards and tell the story as if it really happened. Add drama and excitement to your voice in the same way that you might tell a story around a campfire. Pay attention to the moment of cutting to the 4th card. The more real you can make that mistake seem, the more impact the final change will have. Finally, make sure the audience completely understands that the original kings are no longer in the deck, before reproducing those kings from your pockets.
Saturday night was just a little bit different. Saturday night is what I call the night of coincidence. You see, it was just by the sheerest coincidence that I happened to notice that the ace of spades and the ace of clubs happened to be on the bottom of the deck. What was even more of a coincidence, the ace of hearts and the ace of diamonds happened to be on top of the deck. The real coincidence? I was dealing. And tell me, how many people in this game, Steve? 5, 6, or 7?
6.
6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, of course, folks, as you realize, I got the ace of hearts because I needed it. Yes. Oh, by the way, Adrian, I kept the ace of diamonds up here because I'm going to need it later on. Now, Adrian, if you remember, we had the 2 red aces on top. So I wasn't dealing the top card. I wasn't dealing the second card. It wouldn't be possible to deal a 3rd card, and I wasn't dealing the bottom card. So tell me, Adrian, what card was I dealing? Any card I want. Yes, now you're starting to understand. Now, of course, it's later on. Now, in this particular game, we're playing a game known as 7-card stud. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, they deal 2 cards face down, 4 up, and 1 down. And if you remember, I have the ace of clubs on the bottom. So now I had to deal a deck something like this. Now, at this particular point in time, unknown to me, the fellow sitting right here was getting just a little bit suspicious. And Adrian and I couldn't figure out why. So Steve, he asked to cut the deck. That will now place the ace of spades right in the center. And tell me, how would you like me to deal the ace of spades? Face up, as in stud, or face down, as in draw?
Face up.
Face up. The ace of spades. From the center of the deck. To myself.
Naturally.
Can't be done. Here we go, going for the ace of spades in the center of the deck. So as I tell all of my audiences wherever I work all over the world, no, it is not true that all gamblers cheat, but it is true that no cheat gambles, because as you can see, he makes it a certainty. However, ladies and gentlemen, from myself and a deck of cards, may the shuffled deck of life deal each and every one of you happiness. Thank you kindly, and I do hope you've enjoyed this show. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Saturday was just a little bit different. Saturday is what I call the night of coincidence. You see, it was just by the sheerest coincidence that I happened to notice that the ace of spades and the ace of clubs happened to be on the bottom of the deck. What was even more of a coincidence, the ace of hearts and the ace of diamonds happened to be on top of the deck. The real coincidence? I was dealing. I look now to the person on my right, and I say, sir, how many people in this friendly little game poker?
6.
5, 6. Now, I have to deal a 3rd. In order to deal a 3rd, and I'm going to exaggerate this greatly for you, you push over 1 card and come down. You push over the 2nd card and come down, so now you have this type of control on 2 cards. So if you strike a card, you can come back. Now, naturally, if you take it so that the break is only here, and now you ride it. So now you can just ride a little bit. So just start off with a big, about the size of the borders, and then just start refining it down, down, down. Now, you said that you wanted 6 hands. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you deal the top card. I now show that I have the ace of hearts. I then say, by the way, sir, I kept the ace of diamonds up here because I'm going to need it later on. So you see, I wasn't dealing the top card. I wasn't dealing a 2nd card. I wasn't dealing a bottom card, so what card was I dealing? And you add the ace. And they sort of look at you quizzically and say, any card I want, and smile. Don't be standoffish. Just smile. You took it, right? I say, so now I say the 2nd card. and I show the second ace. I say, now, I was playing in a game, and it was 7-card stud. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, they deal 2 cards face down, 4 up, and 1 down. You now show the ace of clubs is on the bottom. You take the pack, and you're doing this type of deal. When it comes to the bottom, the third finger pushes out the ace. It starts to swing. The thumb comes over, takes it, snaps it around the deck, and puts it down. So I will do that again in regulation time. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the sound, the motion are absolutely identical. I say, now at this point, the fellow over here, and I point to any one of the packets, was getting a little bit suspicious. And I tap with this finger. And I can't figure out why. And all attention goes to that ace. So he asked to cut the deck. Now, I cut the deck myself this time. He cuts. I do exactly the same move. I glide the card, slap it down, square up, and put over. I say, sir, how would you like me to deal the ace of spades? Face up, as in stud, or face down, as in draw?
Face up.
Face up. Good. Because I've shown you how to do the face down. Now I want to show you how to do it. Now the face up center is easier than the face down center. And all this is this. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and these fingers just straighten out as the hand comes and just turns it face up, drops it on the table, and immediately ribbon spreads the deck. Put your cards in order, show them, and say your goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Darwin Ortiz, and for the next few minutes, I'd like to show you why you should never play cards with strangers. Now, if you've ever been to Las Vegas, you may have noticed the mirrors on the ceilings. I mean in the casinos, not in your hotel rooms. The casino's mirrors are two-way mirrors. They're part of the casino surveillance system for spotting cheating by players or by dealers. Now, whenever I do any consulting work for a gambling casino, as I did recently for the Casino Rule on the French Riviera, for example, I always pay particular attention to the way the dealer shuffles the cards. Now, I want to show you how a cheat can control the cards while shuffling the deck prior to dealing. And to make it a little easier for you to follow what's happening, once I start shuffling, I'm going to sort these cards out to an extent so that, as you can see in a moment, all of the red cards are together and all of the black cards are together. Now, there are many different methods of shuffling cards. One shuffle you'll see in many home games, private games, friendly games, is an overhand shuffle like this. Now, the problem with this kind of a shuffle is that a cheat can use it to control the cards. Because you see, the red cards are still together, the black cards are still together. That's why you'll never see a dealer in Las Vegas shuffle this way. Casino dealers are always required to shuffle with the cards held flat on the table like this. Now, the problem with this kind of a shuffle is that a cheat can use it to control the cards. Red cards together, black cards together. Hope you're not colorblind, Janelle, or none of this will make any sense to you. That's why today in many gambling casinos, the dealer is required to go even further. He has to, what they call, break down the shoe. That is, he divides the cards into several piles. He takes two small groups, shuffles them together, takes a different two groups, shuffles them together, keeps doing that till they're all mixed. I want to show you why that really is the most thorough method of mixing cards. And for example, if you ever play blackjack in Atlantic City, you'll see that all the casinos there shuffle that way. And to make it a little easier for you to follow what happens once I start shuffling, I'll divide the deck into four groups, two blacks, two reds. I want you to take one of the black groups, Laura, and shuffle it. I will take one of the red groups and shuffle it. And yeah, any kind of shuffle is good enough for our purposes, Laura. Shuffle as much as you want and just put the cards face down right here whenever you're satisfied. I'll be honest with you, Laura, that was not the greatest shuffle. Janelle, let's see if you can do better, since you were laughing at her. I want you to take the remaining red group and shuffle it. I will take the remaining black group and shuffle it. I take it back, Laura. Maybe that wasn't such a bad shuffle after all. And put it down here whenever you're satisfied. And it doesn't matter, because the important part is when all four groups get shuffled together. For example, I'll take one of the red groups and one of the black groups, and I will shuffle them together, and you can see that I am using a style of shuffle that very thoroughly meshes the reds and the blacks together. I'll take the remaining black group and the remaining red group, and once again, you can see that this is a thorough shuffle. So there can be no doubt that the reds and the blacks are thoroughly mixed together over here, and that the reds and the blacks are thoroughly mixed together over here. The only problem is that a really skilled card cheat can still end up with all of the black cards over here and all of the red cards over here. Vegas Shuffle is an effect that I've been doing for many, many years, and I've made very few changes in it. It's just an effect that works just fine the way that I first came up with it. And it's an example of something that I do in a number of effects and that I really like to do, and that is an effect that begins as skill, and the skill demonstration gets more and more impossible until eventually it crosses the line into pure impossibility. This idea of starts as skill, ends as impossibility is something I do in a number of effects. This is an example, as you'll see. So you saw the presentation, that during the presentation I'll shuffle the deck of cards once or twice. Eventually I talk about how a dealer can control the deck of cards. I'll ribbon spread face up. I want them to see that they're randomly mixed. Then as I start talking about what I'm going to do, what I'm doing, this is tilted up towards me. They don't see this, but what I'm doing is simply out-jogging all of the black cards. As I'm talking about how I want to sort the cards out to an extent so that, as they'll see in a moment, I finish doing this. This is all tilted up towards me. I do this, and I ribbon spread the cards face down. Then I flip the ribbon spread face up. Now, although I don't make an issue out of this, I don't play it up in any way, you will find that for the typical lay audience, this is a little effect in itself. They don't understand that it's possible to separate reds from blacks by just up-jogging some cards. So when you ribbon spread the deck of cards face up, be ready for some people to go, ooh, what happened there? But if they don't, it's fine, because you're not turning it into an effect. You're just separating reds from blacks. Now here's an important thing. The red cards are on this side, the blacks on this side. Even though the blacks are on the bottom, because I ribbon spread face down and then flip face up, the top half ends up on this side, the top half which is reds. That's important for a reason I'll explain in a moment. So phase one in the Vegas Shuffle is to demonstrate the overhand shuffle. Here's the one little improvement I've made in this effect since I first published it. What you're going to do, let me explain the concept before I give you the handling. What you're going to do is Laurie Ireland's red-black shuffle, where you just shuffle in groups until you near the center. When you know that you're nearing the center, you run singles, and then you go back to groups. Now, done with the deck face down, all they see is that you're shuffling cards, and eventually you go to singles and then go back to groups. Done face down, it looks like the cards got a thorough mixing. But the only weak point is in the original Laurie Ireland shuffle, as you get to the center, you do have to run 5 or 6 cards. till you've gotten past that middle point of reds meeting blacks. So the one little touch I've added in this is a way of eliminating that. We do this. We ribbon spread. The reds are on this side. As I scoop up the deck, see that 3 of hearts? That's the lowermost red card. As I scoop up, I just do that, and I just in-jog. In this case, it's the red 3. Whatever is the lowermost red card, I just in-jog it. The audience can't see it. In any case, the cards are messed up. It means nothing to them. Now, I'm going to push like this, and I have a break right between the 26 reds and the 26 blacks. Of course, this is tilted back towards you, so they don't see that. So once again, very quickly, here's what you're doing. You do this, you get your oohs and ahs, you scoop up, just kick that 3 in, push down, shift it to a break over here. Now, when you jog shuffle, and I'll give you an exposed view. Of course, the audience doesn't see this because you have this tilted back. You shuffle till you hit the break, and then you shuffle in groups again. There's no running of single cards. It's just a little subtlety that makes the shuffle look better. Now you ribbon spread the deck face up. Looks like the cards are in the same order. Reds on this side, blacks on this side. In point of fact, the reds had been on top of the deck. Now they're on the bottom. But because the first time I ribbon spread face down and flipped up, the top half had been here. This time I ribbon spread face up, the bottom half is here. The reds appear to be in the same place. So it's just a little subtlety to make it look like nothing changed during that 1 overhand shuffle. Okay, that's phase 1. You get a reaction to that. Now you go to phase 2. Phase 2 is when you talk about casino-style shuffles, which is to say a tabled riffle shuffle. And what I do here is a Zarro shuffle. And often in Zarro shuffles, depending on the context, you may have to do a center pull-out or some kind of cutting sequence to eliminate the center pull-out. Don't have to worry about that here. Cut about 20 cards. Now, that means all of these are red, but the top 4, 5, 6 cards here are also red. Oh, excuse me, black. My mistake. These are all black, but these are also black. So if you do a Zarro shuffle under, let's say, 3 cards, what you're doing is you're Zarroing black cards under black cards. And the order of the cards changes, but the red-black separation doesn't change. So again, I'm cutting a group of black cards. I've got a group of black cards here. So if I Zarro under, let's say, 3 cards, I am Zarro shuffling black cards under black cards, and the red-black separation stays. Now, if you don't want to use the Zarro shuffle, feel free to use a strip-out shuffle or a push-through shuffle. It doesn't matter. Any tabled riffle shuffle that you do well, do that. If you want to use a strip-out or a push-through, that's fine. Do that. Either way, when you ribbon spread the deck face up and the reds are still separated from the blacks, you're going to get a strong reaction. Now we go to phase 3. And as I explain this, I'm going to show you there's some little subtleties that I do here that you may not want to bother with. I think they're nice touches, make everything a little more subtle. It's up to you whether you want to include them or not. I memorize the 6 of diamonds, whatever's the uppermost red card. As I scoop up, this is to go into the 3rd phase where you talk about they're breaking the shoe. I'm going to put my thumb on the 4 of clubs. That is not the bottommost black card, but the second from the bottom black card. And as I scoop up, I'm going to get a break. So what I have done is I've got to break 1 black card past the reds. I also memorize the 6 of diamonds. Remember that. Whatever that uppermost red card is, I memorize it, and then I just scoop up like this. Now, I'm going to take a dozen red cards. The exact number isn't important unless you're really anal compulsive like I am. I always take 13 cards in. Now, when I take the reds, I spread until I see the 6 of diamonds, and then I do a block push-off, and I've stolen that black card. If you don't want to bother to do that, you can just do this, and as you come near the color separation, just tilt the cards up and take 1 black card past the red. but I like being able to do everything open towards the audience. And when I see that 6 of diamonds, I just do a block push off. Looks like I have nothing but reds, but the real situation is this one black card, okay? Then these are fairly divided into 2 groups of blacks. So I say 2 blacks, 2 reds. Jane, or whoever is sitting here, I'll say, Jane, I want you to take one of the black cards and shuffle it. Then I pick up these. Remember, there's a black card here. Here's another subtlety you may not want to bother with. I think it adds a tiny bit. It's not much work. I do this. I buckle and get a break under above 2 cards, okay? I've gotten a break above that 6 of diamonds. And it's just a matter of buckling like this so that you can catch that break. So if you want to do it exactly the way that I do it, you would get yourself that break. Now you can spread all of the reds and take that 6 of diamonds as a double, and they never see this card. So while she's shuffling those, you do this. Shuffle a single card to the bottom, fairly shuffle, and shuffle a single card to the top, and get a break under it. So what you've done is you've put the single black card there, and you've gotten a break under this single red. So this is the situation, all red, but 1 black at the face. Also, I've gotten a break above this one. When Jane finishes shuffling, I say, Jane, put the cards face down right here. I put a little weight behind the words face down because I wanted to put them face down. The reason is the face card of the black packet is the 5 of clubs. But in a moment, face card of the black card is the face card of the black packet is not going to be the 5 of clubs. So if she put it face up, and then a moment later, the face card is the jack of spades, it's going to be obvious something happened. Therefore, insist that she put it face down. If they make a mistake, once in a blue moon, even though I said put it face down, they may put it face up. No problem. I'll say, Jane, you know what? Why don't you give them a cut as an extra precaution? Now I pull it face down. The point is now nobody knows what the face card of that packet is. That's what's important. I'm going to do a move of Ed Marlowe's now. He called it the key move. What you're going to do is, remember, these are black, these are red, but they have a black card on the face, and I have a break under a red card. I'm going to pick these up. I'm going to engage this break here, like so, as I push forward like that. And when I turn these over, what will happen is I have a black card on the face of a red pile. I have a red card on the face of a black pile. This is Marlowe's key move, and it is indeed the key to this entire effect. Let me backtrack a little bit. I'm like this. This is the red pile with the black card on the face. So we're like this. In order to make that steal, I do a simple little in-transit action, something we're going to talk about in the theory segments. She's put this here. Remember, this is actually black. I say, Jane, you know, that wasn't the greatest shuffle. And that gesture is my excuse for putting this pile on here. Then I say, Mary, let's see if you can do better. Everybody's laughing at the comment that I made about her shuffle. There's no heat on the switch. I say, let's see if you can do better. Because I'm going to ask you, they think this is black, it's actually red with a black card on the face. They think this is red, it's actually black with a red card on the face. I'm going to ask you to take these red cards and shuffle them, the last red pile. I'll take the last black pile and shuffle it. These 2 piles are legitimate, these 2 piles are reversed. Now I say I'll take one of the red piles, one of the black piles. Of course, I don't rip and spread this one because you can't rip and spread this one. But you can rip and spread this one, so I just very casually say, I'll take one of the red piles, one of the black piles, and I'll shuffle them together. And I do a faro shuffle. It does not have to be perfect, but what does have to happen is that this red card goes second from the face. That's the only important thing, because every card here is black, except this one. So I want to make sure it's going to be hidden second from the face. So I do a faro that puts the King of Diamonds second from the face. Now you can really play this up. You can say, Jane, you can see that really is thorough. Those cards really are meshed together. I'll take the remaining black pile. the remaining red pile again. You can spread this one, you can't spread this one. So I'll take the remaining black pile, the remaining red pile, and once again, you can see that this is, and I hold it up to the audience, you can see that this is a thorough shuffle. Now, when you do this, and you hold it up to the audience, you can see people squinting to see how thorough a shuffle it is. Even when I put them on the table, sometimes I'll see people lean down to see how thorough the shuffle is. Now, this is a good sign because it shows you that they don't suspect the real situation. If they did, they know it doesn't matter how thorough the shuffle is. So when they start paying attention to how thorough that shuffle is, you know they've bought the con. So play this up. Reds and blacks are thoroughly mixed together over here. Reds and blacks are thoroughly mixed together over here. Now, all you have to do now is spread these and keep the last few together. You can just do it like that. I actually will lift up and get a break under 2 cards so that I can spread every single card and keep this double together here. If you don't want to bother to do that, doesn't matter. It's just, again, it's a little subtlety that you have to decide for yourself whether or not it's worth the trouble. Do this. Now, at the end, of course, you want to take heat off these doubles here. So, at the end, I'll do this. And that just draws the eye away from the doubles. Don't worry, nobody's going to see anything anyway. This is just a little icing on the cake I put on to get all eyes off here. But there's nothing to hide anyway. They're never going to see anything. But if you do this, of course, they look at your gesture. That draws the eye to this end of the ribbon spread and away from this end of the ribbon spread. Finish off by gathering the cards. And, of course, you have this, King of Diamonds, Jack of Spades, evidence to destroy, no problem. Shuffle the 2 halves of the deck together. That destroys the evidence. That's the Vegas shuffle. I'm going to give you these cards as soon as I finish.
Okay.
But I want to use them for one more thing. So, Frank,
Yes.
have a seat. And I want to thank you for helping me.
Absolutely.
And I should have asked everyone to give you a round of applause. Frank, now you're going to have to earn your applause.
Okay.
Have you ever played poker at all, Frank?
Yes.
Good. Because I've played a little bit of poker myself once or twice. So I want to play a couple of hands of poker with Frank. I mean, not for money, just for fun, just to help me illustrate a point. And I'm going to remove some cards before we begin. I'll explain why as we go along. Because I know that many people believe that in order for a card shark to operate, he has to shuffle all the time. He has to deal all the time. So I'm going to play a couple of hands of poker with Frank in which I'll let him... Yeah, I've played poker with guys like you. I saw that. I'm going to let Frank shuffle part of the time. I'll let him deal part of the time, and I might still win once or twice. Let's see what we've got here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Frank, have you ever played Mexican poker at all?
No, I don't think so.
It doesn't really matter. It's essentially the same thing as standard poker, with only one difference. You don't play with a full deck. So this should seem very familiar to you, Frank. You only use the number of cards you need for the players that you have. So in a head-to-head game, you just need 10 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cards, because that's 5 for you, 5 for me. Now, I said that I would let Frank shuffle part of the time and deal part of the time. So for the first hand, supposing we take turns shuffling and dealing. In other words, I will shuffle and deal 2 cards, then Frank will shuffle and deal 2 cards, then I'll shuffle and deal 2 cards. We'll keep taking turns so they're all mixed. It's your turn. Shuffle them as much as you want. Put the deck down. Well, when you finish shuffling, deal 2 cards. Okay, now it's my turn to shuffle and deal 2 cards. Can you see how closely he's watching me? Frank, I don't want you to think I'm going to try to cheat you. After all, I'm on your side.
Right.
But look, if you're going to be the suspicious kind, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll let you take my turn. Shuffle these cards as much as you want and then deal 2 cards. Take my turn because I don't like your attitude. No, now it's your turn to shuffle and deal 2 cards. Pressure's on, huh? Now it's my turn to shuffle and deal 2 cards. I know you probably think I'm using some fancy card shark shuffle here to stack the deck. I don't want you to think that because, after all, I'm on your side.
Okay.
So I'll tell you what I'll do. If I let Frank take whichever card he wants and I take the one that's left over, that has to be fair, right? You take the one that you want for your hand, I get whichever one is left in my hand. So you take the one that you want for yourself. Now, with such few pairs and with such few cards, I purposely picked a lot of pairs, high cards, to make for better hands. So you should have a good hand here. I want you to spread them face up on the table. Let everybody see what you've got. Spread them face up on the table. Well, spread them out, too, so we don't have to build that much suspense. Just spread them out. A pair of kings is a pretty good hand. Unfortunately, I win with a pair of aces. Actually, I won with 2 pair, but I didn't want to mention the other pair because I don't want to make them feel bad. Listen, Frank, I want you to shuffle these cards, shuffle as much as you want, put them on the table whenever you're satisfied that they're well mixed. And, you know, don't feel bad, Frank, because after all, you had the second best hand in the game. Now, tell me honestly, Frank, do you know of any method whereby I could have influenced the order of these cards?
No.
Now, I won't even cut. Normally, when one player shuffles, the other one cuts before he deals. I won't even cut. Pick them up and deal them off in exactly the order that you shuffle. Go ahead, deal. But deal off the top, because I don't want any cheating in this game. Now, I think I can honestly say that if it were any fairer than that, you'd be cheating me. I want you to spread them face up on the table. Let everybody see what you've got. A pair of aces and a pair of kings. That is a much better hand.
Yes.
And yet it's not good enough because, unfortunately, I win with 3 of a kind. Listen, what I want you to do is to really shuffle these cards thoroughly, Frank. Mix them up a lot. Put them on the table whenever you're satisfied they're well mixed. And listen, Frank, you know, don't take this seriously because, you know, this is all just in fun. We're all just here to have a few laughs at your expense. No, really, don't take it seriously because, you know, it is all just in fun. Now, I want you to tell me honestly, Frank, do you know of any method whereby I could have influenced the order of these cards? Tell me honestly. Do you know of any way that I could have influenced the order of these cards? Now, I'm going to pick one card for myself. I want you to pick a card for yourself. And I pick a card, would you pick a card? And I'll pick a card, would you pick a card? And I'll pick a card, would you pick a card? And it just occurred to me, if I take one of these 2, I leave him without a choice. I don't want to leave you without a choice. You take the last one. Leave me without a choice. I think that's better, right? I want you to spread them face up on the table. Let everybody see what you've got. A pair of aces. I won with this hand earlier, a pair of aces, and unfortunately, this time I win with 2 pair kings and 5s. I knew I would need those 5s eventually. That's why I kept dealing them to myself. Now, let me get this straight. Thank you. Thank you. Let me get this straight. Frank lost
3.
when... Oh, you've been keeping score. I wasn't even keeping score myself. It's getting personal. Frank lost when we took turns shuffling and dealing. He lost when he shuffled, he dealt, I didn't even cut. He lost when he picked his own cards. Of course, I picked my own cards, so that wasn't completely fair. Now, if I let Frank pick his own cards, and I take whatever's left over, whatever Frank tells me he doesn't want, that has to be fair, right? We'll handle the cards in pairs. We'll eliminate 1 card each time. Frank, point to a card. Let's point to a card. Okay, well, is that the one you want? I wanted to
Yes.
eliminate one, but is that the one? No, it's up to you.
Yeah, I want
That's the one that you want. Okay, if that's the one you want, go ahead, take it. I had said eliminate, but if that's what you want to, however you want to do. Okay, so it can be either way. You tell me, are we eliminating or are we picking?
Eliminate.
Pressure's on.
Okay.
You want to eliminate which one?
That one.
You want to eliminate this one? Okay, so you get that one. And once again, you tell me what you want to eliminate.
This one.
You want to
Eliminate that
you want to eliminate this one?
one. Yes.
Okay, so you get that one. You know, if you're positive, I'll keep it. Do you want me to shuffle it back in or keep it? Shuffle it back in, okay. Eliminate one or pick one. I don't care. I'm so confused at this point.
Eliminate.
You're eliminated, so you want this one.
Yes.
You want this one. Take it. You only get one more. Is that correct?
4.
Did you only get one more?
Yeah.
Okay. You only get one more. You take whichever one you want. So Frank is saying to me, Darwin, I don't want these cards. So I guess I'm stuck with them. Frank, would you spread your cards face up on the table, let everybody see what you've got? You've got a pair of aces, it's deja vu all over again, because you remember that a pair of aces loses to two pair kings and fives. I didn't want to have to remind you of that again, but that is the way that it works. You know, I seldom say this to anybody, but somebody with your kind of luck ought to learn how to cheat at cards. In fact, I'll help you cheat. For the last hand, we'll make this the last hand of Mexican poker. I'll help you cheat a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's pretend that Frank is a card cheat. Let's pretend there is one marked card in the deck. These cards are not marked.
Okay.
I'm going to give them to Natalie. She'll let you examine them if you want. You can send them to CSI. You can put them under a microscope. You'll see they are not marked, but we will pretend that one of them is, okay? So if he was a cheat and this was marked, he would know what this card is. If you were cheating, would you deal that card to me or would you use some kind of tricky deal to give it to yourself?
I'd give it to myself.
Okay, so I get the next one.
Okay.
I shouldn't do this, but you know, I hate to see anybody lose. Let's pretend there are two marked cards in the deck. So he knows what this one is too. Would you deal that to me or would you use a trick deal to give it to yourself?
I'd keep it.
You keep it. Okay, so I get the next one.
Yes.
I shouldn't do this, but you know I'm on your side. Let's pretend they're all marked. He knows what every one of these cards is. If you were cheating, would you deal that card to me or would you use a trick deal to give it to yourself?
To
You can consult with your friends if you want,
I'll
because
give it
they're...
to you.
Okay. And what about the next one? And you can consult with them, because they're on your side. I can tell by the applause. I'll let you have as many lifelines as you want. I can put it on the bottom.
Do
You
that.
can decide later. Okay. What about this one? You're going to take that. Well, you only get one more.
Okay.
Now, I really shouldn't do this, because if I show Frank all the cards at the same time, anybody can figure out the strongest possible hand, even Frank. But, you know, I hate to see anybody lose, Frank. You get one more card. Take whichever card you want. You know, this choice bothers me, Frank, because you know I'm on your side. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm not going to show you the faces of any more cards.
Okay.
But if you want, I will allow you to exchange that card sight unseen for this card. Or you can exchange it for this card. Or you can exchange it for this card. Or you can exchange it for this card, or you can exchange it for this card. You can have what's behind curtain number 3. Or you can keep it. If you really want to keep it, you can keep it. Deal or no deal?
Can we switch hands?
No, you see, it would set a bad example for the children in the audience. You have to be responsible, you know.
I'll live with it.
John McCain was talking about personal responsibility. You gotta, okay, you will take it or you don't want to switch it. Okay, you try and help somebody, that's what happens. I want you to spread the cards face up on the table, for the last time tonight, let everybody see what you've got. You have 2 pair and 2 kings. That is the best hand you have had all night, the best hand of the night, except for the one that I have right here, unfortunately, because I win with 3 5s. Take my advice, Frank. Don't ever play cards for money. Thanks a lot, Frank. You're a great sport. You're a great sport. Thanks a lot, Frank. Thank you. Thank you. That finishes the performance. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. You're very kind. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Now we're going to talk about the effect that is technically the easiest on any of these DVDs. That is, from a sleight of hand standpoint, the easiest of any of them. And yet, in many ways, it's the most difficult effect on the entire set, because it's all about psychology, audience management, doing a lot of thinking and making it look like you're not doing any thinking at all. But if you put in the work, you're going to have one of the most entertaining routines that you can do for a lay audience. It's based, of course, on the old gambling scam of the Jonah card, the 10-card poker deal that originally did start as a card cheating scam and then was later adopted by magicians for entertainment. So you start talking about, I say to the spectator, do you play poker at all? Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say, oh, a little bit. And I'll say, when they say, oh, a little bit, I'll say, oh, just like me, I just play a little bit. I hardly know the rules, and that gets a laugh. And I'll say, if they say it's a little bit, I'll say, you can consult our panel of experts on any questions you have, so it's okay even if you don't know how to play a lot. Then I say, I'm going to remove some cards from the deck, and I'll explain why as I go along. And the cards that I remove are this. First, the Queen of Clubs. Then, 3 kings and 3 aces. Every king except the King of Clubs. Every ace except the Ace of Spades. I'll explain why I leave those out in a moment. Every king except the King of Clubs, every ace except the Ace of Spades. By the time you finish doing this, you have 7 cards on the table. But even though I know that I have 7 cards, I'm going to count them anyway. The reason I want to count them is I want to put some wave work into the Queen of Clubs. Now, wave work is an old card cheating technique, still used by card cheats all the time. What it means is this. I count 1. I'm always grabbing the card right at this corner. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When I do 7, I squeeze and put a little trough into the card. I squeeze with the thumb down and the 2 fingers up. First and second fingers squeeze up, thumb squeezes down. Let me exaggerate it. That's the trough that you get there. And you can spot that very easily later on. And then I scoop and I give the cards a 180-degree turn so that the work is at the outer end because I now have to put the same work on the inner end. Now I go through and I remove 3 5s. It doesn't matter which 3. And as I remove these cards, I'll occasionally let the audience see what some of the cards are, and some others I don't let them see. So that on the one hand, it doesn't look like I'm trying to hide really, but on the other hand, they don't get to know at this point what the 10 cards are. Now I put the rest of the deck in the box. That's going to be important later on. I'll explain why at the very end, why we put the deck in the box. Now, I explained that we're going to use 10 cards, and you want to justify why you're using only 10 cards. You'll see the pattern in the performance, what the motivation was. I say it's Mexican poker designed to prevent cheating. You use only the number of cards you need for the players you have. Head-to-head game, we need 10 cards, which we should have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cards, and I put the wave in again. Now there is a wave at this end, and there is a wave at this end. Now, I can see these waves extremely easily, but it may not be easy for you to see it on the camera. So we're going to cheat, and we're going to do this. We're going to mark the Queen of Clubs, which is the key to the whole effect. We're going to mark it this way and this way. Now, when you perform the effect, once you're used to spotting wave work, it's the same thing to you as if they were marked this way. These corners were marked this way. You can spot that card very easily. Let's talk a little bit more about the composition of these cards. This is the key to the 10-card poker deal. Mexican poker's a version of the 10-card poker deal. 3 sets of 3 and 1 odd card. Whoever gets the odd card loses. That's all there is to it. The secret is very, very simple. 3 sets of 3. I use 3 5s, 3 aces, and 3 kings. Many years ago, I learned the original version of this routine that I started with from Harry Lorraine. He used 3 5s, 3 aces, 3 kings, and the Queen of Clubs. I've ever since used the same cards. Now, because the secret is so simple, it's just whoever gets that card loses. That's all there is to it. Because the secret is so simple, it takes some very clever and subtle routining to hide the secret, because you're going to do the same thing over and over again. If you don't hide it subtly, people will be able to figure out what's happening. Now, as you saw in the live performance, I explained I'm going to let him shuffle part of the time, I'll shuffle part of the time. So this first time we'll take turn shuffle. Now all I'm doing is I'm keeping that Queen of Clubs on the bottom. All I'm doing on all these shuffles is I'm just milking that so it stays on the bottom. So I don't have to keep track of how many times I shuffle because the queen of clubs stays on the bottom each time, all right? So whenever I want to go into the deal, I shuffle the queen of clubs to the top. I say, this first time we'll take turns shuffling and dealing. In other words, I will shuffle and deal 2 cards, then he will shuffle and, now it's over. He has lost. It's done. The rest is presentation, entertainment value, and also psychology to make it seem as strong as possible and to hide the real method. So I say, then he will shuffle and deal 2 cards, then I will shuffle and deal 2 cards, then he'll shuffle and deal 2 cards till they're all dealt out. Now, as you saw in the performance, in reality, he ends up doing all of the remaining shuffling and dealing because I let him shuffle and then he deals. Then he starts to hand me the cards. I start to shuffle and I say, can you see how closely he's watching me? If you're going to be the suspicious kind, I'll let you take my turn. You shuffle as much as you want and deal 2 cards. Take my turn because I don't like your attitude. So he shuffles again and deals 2 cards. Then he starts to hand me the cards. I say, no, it's your turn to shuffle and deal 2 cards. Now there are only 2 cards. I make a show of shuffling the 2 cards, and I say, maybe you think I'm stacking the deck here with the fancy card shark shuffle. If I let you pick whichever card you want, that has to be fair, right? So I explain, so there's no question about equivocation. I explain, you get the one you picked from my hand, I get the one that's left in my hand. He picks whichever one he wants, I get the other one. Now, all that's really happened is that after the first 2 cards are dealt, basically, he shuffles and deals the rest of the cards. That's what it comes down to. So why don't I just say to him, shuffle and deal the rest of the cards? Well, for 2 reasons. If I did that, I may as well hold up a neon sign advertising the fact that these are the only 2 cards that don't matter, that do matter. These are the only 2 cards that do matter because they're the only 2 cards that I won't let him control. The second reason I do it the way I do it is what I call the Ginsu Knives principle, which I talk about on another one of these DVDs. If you give them the full package at once, seems pretty impressive. If you give them the package little by little, seems far more impressive. If you say, I'm going to give you these 20 Ginsu knives and it's $39.95, they'll go, that's a pretty good deal. If you say, I'm going to give you these 3 knives, wait a minute, I'm going to give you two knives more. Wait, don't tell me how much you'd pay. I'm going to give you a knife sharpener. How much would you? No, don't tell me how much you'd pay. I'm going to throw in 4 fish fillet knives. How much would you pay? No, don't tell me how much you'd pay because I'm going to throw in 4 butter knives. Now, would you believe that I'm going to give this to you for $39.95? People go, oh my God, that's unbelievable. That's what we do here. We don't tell him all at once that he's going to get to control all 8 cards. We give him a little bit of control over the result. Then it looks like I'm going to do, then I give him more control. And it's like I've added 3 more knives to the set. Then he starts to hand me the cards. I say, no, 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 it's your turn. Now I've added the 2 fish fillet knives. Then we get down to the 2 cards and I say, pick whichever one you want. Now these are the 4 butter knives. Now it's like, oh my God, all that for $39.95? I cannot believe it. Okay, so he turns over his cards. I usually do this, because one of the things you want to do is not draw too much attention to the Queen of Clubs. You don't want it to be prominent. So if every time he turned over his hand, the Queen of Clubs was there, he'd start to see the pattern. So I pick them up and I scoop to hide the Queen of Clubs. Right? It's on the bottom. I say, spread them face up on the table. Spread them face up on the table. Something else you don't want the guy to do is to study the cards for 20 minutes before he spreads them out. Because you don't want people memorizing what the 10 cards are. Plus, you're not just entertaining this guy, you're entertaining the audience. So it's boring for them to just watch him. Tell him, spread them face up on the table so that they can play along, okay? A pair of aces and a pair of kings, that is a very good poker hand. Unfortunately, I win with 3 of a kind. And you may notice when you watch the live performance that I never say, you lose. I always say, I win. In addition to the presentation that's involved here, the psychology that's involved in hiding the simple secret, the progression that's built into the routine, that's another important part of any kind of multi-phase routine. There are a million 10-card poker deals out there. This one in my view, is the best. It's certainly the best for me because it disguises the Jonah card principle very well phase after phase, but also because it has progression. The second phase stronger than the first, third stronger than the second, fourth stronger than the fourth, fifth stronger than the fourth stronger than the third, fifth stronger than the fourth. But in addition to keeping track of all that as you're performing, you have to know how to sell this to an audience so that it doesn't have any personal sting to it. I've heard many magicians say the effect of the 10-card poker deal is the spectator always loses. Wrong. If you believe that the effect of the 10-card poker deal is the spectator always loses, you're going to alienate your audience. The effect of the 10-card poker deal is the magician, the performer, always wins. You may say, what's the difference? Logically, there's no difference. Psychologically, there's a big difference. If it's the spectator always loses, now it becomes very personal about there's something wrong with Frank. He always loses. What's wrong with this guy? When it's the magician always wins, it's impersonal. You get across the notion that if Steve were there instead of Frank or Bob were there instead of Steve, they would still lose because the performer always wins. It's like playing golf with Tiger Woods. You wouldn't say, Tiger Woods beat me. You would feel, well, Tiger Woods would beat anybody except a world-class pro, right? A lot of people would love to play golf with Tiger Woods just to be able to say, my God, that guy was fantastic. So you want them to have that feeling, that they were lucky to play poker with you so they can tell their friends, my God, he was fantastic. Not that he walks away thinking, what's wrong with me? I always lose. Okay, so keeping that in mind, I say, unfortunately, I win with 3 5s. Do me a favor, shuffle all of the cards. Shuffle as much as you want. Here's another important thing about this routine. Many 10-card poker deals never let the spectator shuffle all 10 cards at any point in the routine. To really hide the secret of the Jonah card, you have to have a couple of phases where the spectator shuffles all 10 cards. So he shuffles all 10 cards. I say, put them down on the table when you're satisfied. I pick them up and I say, tell me honestly, do you know of any method whereby I could have influenced the order of these cards? As soon as I spot the Jonah card, I can put them down. So sometimes the Jonah card's near the bottom and I have to spread through all of them. But sometimes it's near the top like this and I can put it down immediately. Here's what I'm looking for. If the Jonah card is in an even position, he deals. If it's not in an odd position, I deal. That's all there is to it. Now, I don't count the cards. I push them over in pairs, and my thumb always touches the lowermost card of the pair. So I know if my thumb touches the Jonah card, he deals. If my thumb doesn't touch the Jonah card, I deal. My thumb is pointing to him. This is the mnemonic that I use. My thumb is pointing to him, so if my thumb touches the Jonah card, he deals. The guy that my thumb is pointing to. If it doesn't, I deal. Now, we use Ascanio's concept of thematic misdirection here. You obscure the critical question of who deals by making a big deal about who cuts or whether the cards get cut. Something that's of no importance, you make it very important. As long as they're thinking about the fact that I didn't cut, they overlook the fact that we never discussed who would deal. So, if it's in an even position, which it is here, I say, normally, after he shuffles, I get to cut before he deals, but I won't cut. If it's in an odd position, I don't use that line about before he deals. I say, do you know of any method whereby I could have influenced the order of these cards? He has to say no. I don't say, do you know of any method where I could know the order of the cards? I say, where I could have influenced the order of the cards. He has to say no. There's no way that I could have influenced. If I see that I'm going to deal, I say, normally when one player shuffles, the other cuts. If I cut these cards now, he'd say, he cheated when he cut. And of course, he'd be right. So I won't even cut. I will deal them in exactly the order that he gave them to me. Notice how every card comes off the top of the deck. If it were any fairer than that, you'd be cheating me. You notice how I just glide over the issue of I deal or he deals. Just you don't discuss it. It's a non-issue. And he loses again. This time he loses, he's got a pair of kings. Oh, you did better last time. Unfortunately, I win again with a pair of aces. Actually, I won with 2 pair. I didn't want to mention that because I didn't want him to feel bad. Oh, here's something else that I found myself doing this automatically. So let me talk about this now. You notice, if you watch the live performance, I don't address all of the comments to the spectator. I address the majority of comments to the audience. I say, unfortunately, I win with a pair of aces. Actually, with a 2 pair aces and 5s. I didn't want to mention these because I didn't want him to feel bad. Part of getting the pressure off the spectator so it doesn't feel personal and combative and like you're picking on him is that you don't address all the comments to him. Most of the comments you're talking to the audience. That takes some of the onus off the spectator. Okay, so phase 2 is over. Once again, shuffle them as much as you want. And as he's shuffling, and again, this is a phase where all 10 cards get shuffled. It really helps to camouflage the secret of the Jonah card. As he's shuffling the 10 cards, I say, and you know, don't take this seriously. This is all just in fun. We're all just here to have a few laughs at your expense. Now that patter is important. The last part you can leave out if you want, but the patter before that is important. Don't take this personally. It's all just in fun. I say to him, it's all just in fun. I say to the audience, we're all just here to have a few laughs. You want to reinforce this notion that this is just for fun. It's not personal. Don't let your ego get involved. Now, I always throw in that line about, we're all just here to have a few laughs at your expense. I just do that because that's my persona. The audience starts to pick up on my persona as the performance goes along, that I'm kind of a wise guy throwing in zingers like that. Just when they think maybe he's a nice guy, I always throw in a little zinger. But as long as they realize underneath that I really am a nice guy, I can do that. Anyway, that pat is important, that they know that you've told them, we're all just here to have a few laughs. It's all just in fun. So he finishes shuffling. You tell him, put them down when you finish shuffling. So otherwise he might start to deal. You say, when you finish shuffling, put them down. When he finishes putting them down, you spread them through between your hands as you say, I'm going to spread these out on the table. And you spot the Jonah card. The Jonah card is often easier to spot in your hands than on the table because in your hands you can tilt back and forth to catch the light. On the table it's not always possible. So I spread them between my hands. As soon as I see the Jonah card, I place them on the table. And I say, I will pick a card, you pick a card. I always go first. Here's why. Usually, before it's over, he will pick the Jonah card. As soon as he picks the Jonah card, I say, oh, I don't know which one I should pick. You tell me. I'll take whichever one you say. And I start letting him pick my cards. Okay, pick one for yourself. I don't know which one I should pick. You tell me, whichever one you say. And he picks one for himself. And, whichever one you say. And he picks one for himself. The second he picks the Jonah card, you can free up and let him make the decisions for you. But let's take a worst-case scenario. Supposing I pick one, he picks one. 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 I pick one, he gets one. There's no way you can get stuck with the Jonah card because he has to take whatever card is last there. So the exact pattern that I use is I take a card, you take a card. I take a card, you take a card. So I take a card, you take a card. I take a card, you get a card. And he ends up with it. That's the worst case scenario. That almost never happens. They almost always end up taking the Jonah card before the end. But as you can see, even the worst case scenario, it's not bad. He spreads out the cards. A pair of aces and a pair of kings. That is the best hand we have had all night. Except for the one that I have here, because, oh, wait a minute, of course he has a great hand. I gave him 6 cards. Let's just take this one for myself. Pair of aces and a pair of kings, the best hand we've had all night, except for the one that I have here, because unfortunately I win with 3 5s. This is another thing that I do in the presentation. I'm always the reluctant winner. I always feel terrible that I won. And that helps take the onus, take the heat off the spectator. But it's also very funny. As you keep winning, you keep going like, oh, gee, I didn't really want to win. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I win again. I keep using also the running gag line, you know I'm on your side, you know I'm on your side. Of course, that gets funny as the guy keeps losing and losing, and you keep beating up on him always by saying, but you know I'm on your side. Okay, so we have done 3 out of 5 phases. Now in this next phase, he does not get to shuffle. You bring the queen to the bottom. Doesn't matter where it is in the hand, you can always bring it to the bottom in an unobtrusive way. And you shuffle using that same slip shuffle so that the queen stays on the bottom. And I say, and this is where I review it. I review the first 3 phases. He lost when he shuffled and he dealt and I didn't even cut. Or if he didn't deal, I'll just say he shuffled and I didn't even cut. He lost, well, that's the second phase. He lost when we took turns shuffling and dealing. He lost when he shuffled and I didn't even cut. And he lost when he picked his own cards. Of course, I picked my own cards, so that wasn't completely fair. If I let him pick his own cards and I take whatever's left over, whatever he tells me he doesn't want, that has to be fair, right? We'll handle the cards in pairs. We'll eliminate 1 card each time. Now, that pattern is important because you're going to do an equivoke here. So that line about we'll eliminate 1 card each time is important because I shuffle it to the top, I say point to, we'll eliminate 1 card each time, point to a card. If he points to this card, I say take it. If he points to this card, I say, okay, we'll eliminate it. Eliminate another one. You want to eliminate this one? Okay, eliminate another one. Eliminate whichever one you don't want. But if he points, again, if he points to the Jonah card, I say take it. And again, take the one that you want. Take whichever one you want. I get the one that's left over. Is that the one that you want for yourself? Take it. So even though it's an equivoke on the first one, because you may say take it, or you may say we'll eliminate it, depending on which one he points to, the remaining second, third, fourth phase are done exactly the same. If you eliminate on the first phase, you eliminate on the second, third, fourth phase. If you say take it on the first phase, you say take it on the second, third, fourth phase. Take. And that hides the equivoke because you're totally consistent from there on in. Now, one of the things that I wanted to get across in teaching you this routine is that you cannot lose. No matter what the spectator does, you cannot lose. Everything they could possibly do to you, I've already built in a fail-safe. Now, we had a worst-case scenario come up with Frank. He did something that won't happen to you, literally won't happen to you once in 1,000 performances, but it happened here. I said, point to a card. Instead of pointing to a card, he did this. Now, if he had, even if they do that, which they don't do once in 1,000 times, 50% of the time it'd still be okay. He might have done this and taken the Jonah card. But this was a worst-case scenario. He did this and pulled the non-Jonah card towards him. We changed the procedure because he doesn't know what the procedure was going to be, so we change it. I say, okay, that's the one that you want for yourself, that's fine. I was going to eliminate them, but if you want to pick them, that's fine. So we'll handle them in pairs, and each time you pick the one that you want for yourself. Pick the one that you want for yourself. Now, he'll either take this, or if he doesn't take it, you just put it back on the bottom, you shuffle it back to the top, pick the one that you want. Now, sooner or later, you know, he's not going to pick on this side every single time. Sooner or later, he's going to pick that card. If it doesn't happen on the second time, it'll happen on the third. If it doesn't happen on the third, it'll happen on the fourth. But let's take an absolutely worst case scenario. You get, on the fourth one, he takes this. I've only had to do this, I think, twice in my life. 4 choices, and you still have the Jonah card. Don't panic. You just do this. This time, you bring the Jonah card to second from the top. And you say, which of these 2 do you want for yourself? Just touch it. Just touch the one that you want for yourself. If he touches this one, you say, if he touches this one, you say, go ahead, take it, take it. And he ends up getting the Jonah card. If he touches the top one, you say, you want this one? Let's find out what it is. Oh, it's a queen. Well, that's not a bad card. And of course, I get these, you get those, spread them out. And you still gave him the Jonah card with a KM move. So if he points to this one, you do a double turnover, take the queen, peel this off as you gesture and say, well, I get these, you get those, spread them out. Unless you do this for a living, in which case you're performing this constantly, unless you do this professionally, you will probably never in your life perform this effect often enough to ever have to use that out. But it gives you some confidence if you know there is nothing they can do that'll screw you up. Now, normally they will take the Jonah card sometime before you get to the 5th card. Now, if they've taken it, and usually, actually, most of the time, they get it the first time because you've done an equivocation. So let's talk about what will happen 99% of the time. You say, we'll handle the cards in pairs, we'll eliminate one card each time. We'll eliminate one card each time, just point to a card. He points to that one, you say, take it. So I get that one. Point to the card that you want, take it. Take the card you want. Take the card you want. Now, he should have to pick one of these two, right? People are much more likely to think that you're trying to keep certain cards from the spectator than that you're trying to force a card on the spectator. So what you do now really pulls the rug out from under the entire audience. You say, you get one more card, take whichever card you want. Now there's such a total lack of control on your part. As long as he's got the Jonah, it doesn't matter which one he takes. So he takes any card he wants. But this is really disarming to a lay audience. Take whichever card you want. He takes it, I turn to the audience and I say, well, Frank is telling me that he doesn't want these cards. He's saying to me, Darwin, these cards are garbage. So I guess I'm stuck with them. Spread out your cards on the table. Always tell them, spread them face up on the table. Let everybody see what you've got. Pair of aces and a pair of kings, it's deja vu all over again because you remember that unfortunately I win with 3 5s. Now here again you want to control the Jonah card, so you want to bring it to the bottom so that you can do your slip cuts. He's lost 4 times in a row. Each time it seems that you've given him more and more freedom. The 5th time we use the Ginsu knives principle again, because what's going to happen is you're going to shuffle the Jonah to the top, you're going to give him this, you're going to take this, and from here on in, you show him every single card. And he can say that one to you, that one to me, that one to you, that one to me. But don't say right at this point, I'm going to show you the face of every single card, and you'll get to decide. No. Give up control gradually. It will be more dramatic if you say, we'll pretend there is one marked card in the deck. Who would you deal that to? A 5, he'll usually give it to me. And then you say, I'll throw in the steak knives too. We'll pretend there are 2 marked cards in the deck. Would you deal that to me or to yourself? A king, he'd probably take that one too. Then I say, oh, I really shouldn't do this, but you know I'm on your side, Frank. Let's pretend they're all marked. So he knows what every one of these is also. And bring the rest of the audience in. You're not performing for one person, you're performing for an audience. So show the card to everybody. Make the comment. You can consult with your friends. They're on your side. I'll give you as many lifelines as you want. Now, Frank didn't consult with the audience, but very often spectators will ask audience members or the audience as a whole what they should do. And very often, even if the spectator doesn't ask, members of the audience will volunteer advice. So you get the whole group involved. Now, he takes this one. I always do this on the 3rd card. I don't put it here. I put it here, and then we continue. An ace he's going to take for himself. So I say, I shouldn't show him all the cards at the same time because anyone can figure out the strongest possible hand, even Frank. If you say that with the right tone of voice, it'll get a laugh and nobody will be offended. If you don't feel you can say it without offending people, just don't say it. In this case, it's a pretty safe bet that he would take the ace. I finish by saying again, they're more likely to think that I'm keeping cards away from him than forcing cards on him. So I say, you know, I'm on your side. I'm bothered by that choice. I'll let you exchange this card for this card. Or you can exchange it 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 for this card. You can have what's behind curtain number 3. Or you can keep it. If you want to keep it, you can keep it. Deal or no deal, you tell me. And most of the time they keep it. But of course, if they want to exchange it, it doesn't matter. So if the spectator thinks that the first card you dealt yourself was a special card that you wanted to keep for yourself, that theory gets killed when you say you can exchange it for any of these, including the one whose face you never showed him. Now, why did I sneak this in here? It occurred to me that someday somebody might remember that the first card they were dealt they didn't see. And they might say, can I exchange that card? So I always did this to obscure which is the first card. I had to wait literally about 15 years before finally somebody said, can I exchange this card? I said, hallelujah. That's what I said to myself. To him I said, I wasn't playing. Oh, all right. If you want to exchange it, but I won't let you exchange that one. If that's the one you want to exchange, fine. And I'm still waiting for this to happen a second time. So it's probably not even worth the bother, but the one time it happened, it was a lot of fun. He spreads the hand face up on the table. For the last time, and usually they'll usually get 3 aces. That's what most often happens, not always, but that's what most often happens, that he'll take 3 aces and a pair of kings. And when that happens, it's particularly nice because you win with the strongest hand of the night. You win with a full house, 5s over kings. So that is Mexican poker. If you want to do this, practice it so that everything that can happen, you know in advance how you're going to deal with it. Because in any equivoke effect, you cannot afford to let your thinking show. And this is nothing but equivoke. This is nothing but, it's not always equivoke, but it's always multiple outs. It's always multiple options. And whatever happens, you have to be ready to go into it without stopping and pausing and thinking for a split second. So if you want to do this effect, put in the practice to be ready for anything that they say, to know immediately what your option is. Also, if you want to perform this effect, perform it at every conceivable opportunity. The more often you perform it, the more entertaining you'll be able to make it. You'll get lines, you'll get great patter lines for the audience, from the audience. For pure entertainment value, this effect and Liar's Poker from my last book, Scams and Fantasies, are the two most entertaining, just in terms of laughter from the audience. For a party-type situation, Mexican poker, Liar's Poker can't be beat. Now, one last thing. Why did I say put the cards in the box like this? Because you don't want people trying to reconstruct the hands. Oh, let me just mention one other thing. Why did I say every ace except the ace of spades? Because the ace of spades is real prominent. I don't want any card that draws too much attention to itself. So these aces are less prominent. Why did I say every king except the king of clubs? Because I don't want the spectator to see the king and queen of clubs and think, oh, is it possible for me to get a flush, a straight flush, a straight? So if you don't have they won't say a straight, but a straight flush or a flush. If there's no king that matches the queen, it draws less attention to this queen because there's nothing that it can match up with there. Now, the last thing I was going to say about the box. You don't want people picking these cards up and trying to reconstruct the last hand. Not that they're looking for the secret, but often when you finish the last hand, someone will say, I told you you should have taken that 5 and not given it to him. And to try and prove his point, he'll say, if you'd taken that 5, he would have gotten the king, and he would have gotten this, and you would have gotten that. And somebody else will say, no, no, he should have kept the 5, he should have kept the king, let him have the 5, but let him have 1 ace. Then he would have gotten this, and they would... That's fine if they want to do that, but I don't want them to do that with the cards, because they might discover that whoever gets the Jonah card loses. So I want to bury the cards in the deck, but I don't want it to look like I'm running scared, like I'm scurrying to shuffle these cards into the deck right away. So I have found the most casual way to bury these 10 cards without making it look like you're running to shuffle them into the deck is, you pick up the deck and you faro the 10 cards into the middle of the deck. And now they're not only buried, but they're farrowed, they're shuffled in. Even if someone took out the deck, they're not going to remember what the 10 cards are, because you may have noticed, you never show them all 10 at once. You only show them the number of cards they need to see that you won. They start looking at these cards, they'll never remember what the 10 cards were. So that's why the cards are in the box, because the fastest way to bury cards in the middle of the deck and yet make it look very casual is to pick up the box and just faro those cards into the box. And I say, Frank, I want you to have these as a souvenir. That's Mexican poker.